What's happening?
Hello, hello. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you. Oh, I'm looking for getting Jackie back in here. Let's see. Anyways, maybe she'll be here in a second. So happy freaking Thursday. We're really excited to be back here for our live event at the end of the month again. And you know what? This is live, unfiltered, and raw. Yes, we have bullet points, so we need to put that out there. But this is not scripted, not rehearsed. And so what you get is what you get. And today we're very excited to talk about something you probably hear all of us talk about, which it's the age of specialization. And we welcome some comments if you can. And if not, no big deal as well. You know what? We're here again, here live for you. So hi, Heather. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Hello.
And hey, David. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being supportive as always. All right, so let's start with something simple. Let's start with what does specialization mean to you? Who wants to take that one first? All right, Heather, you're volunteer.
Shy. All right, I'm never shy. Yeah, specialization. So obviously in our world, no matter what you're talking about, there's a lot to know about a lot of things. So specialization to me is being fluent and oftentimes an expert in the specific thing that you sell or that you service you provide or area that you are giving expertise and assistance with.
Yeah, and you often refer to it as staying in your lane, right? We stay in our lane, we focus, and so we can be on that fast highway. Is there anything you want to add, Jackie?
I would add that it means you don't need to be a specialist in everything. There are specialists everywhere that you can go out to and get the resources that you need and to help grow your business without having to know it all yourself.
Yeah. So Heather has a great story for that. I had one I was going to share, but I think Heather's a little bit better because she has some recent experiences that many of you know about. So feel free to share your story a little bit, and then we'll dive into that, Heather.
Right. Well, thank you. I was, as we say, we don't script this stuff. So I was kind of pondering last night on a good way, real life example that's pertinent to what we're talking about. And for me, what's going on in my life right now is we're rebuilding our home. Many of you might know, we talked about it in the last episode. We had a fire in our house and asbestos, and we had to rebuild the whole home over the last year and a half over the global pandemic, which has been lots of fun. But what I'm seeing, and my husband's in the construction industry as well, but when you're rebuilding a home, right, you generally have a general contractor because I know, again, husband's in the industry, so put him aside. If I had to coordinate all of that myself, that would be very difficult, right? And while there are some companies that do everything, generally, when you're doing plumbing or you're doing air conditioning or you're doing flooring or you're doing painting, there are companies that specialize in those, right? And the general contractor essentially finds the best fit for our house on, cost and quality and all of that. And we trust them to know who those people are. And then they bring them in and they coordinate them. It's not that the general contractors doing all that work themselves, which some are self-performing, but generally they're finding that specialist and they're bringing it in. And I'm not upset with the general contractor that he's bringing a specialist in to take care of that, right? I'm actually happy that I know that the person inside that's plumbing my walls that can cause a lot of problems if it's not done right is being done by a specialist that's taken the time to learn their craft, that again, that general contractor has trusted with our house to make sure it's done right. And there's a lot of time spent in those crafts and those trades, learning that craft, right? Going to trade school and not feeling like I need to know how to do plumbing and heating and painting. Most people aren't doing that and they don't have the capacity to, because we can only learn and perform so much as one like human being, right?
Plus,
you don't know what you don't know either. So, you know, having someone who at least knows that there are these levers that need to be pulled, and maybe I don't know everything behind them, but that I know that that's something to consider, is something that you want that contractor for, to be able to help you guide through the whole scenario.
Yeah, and those contractors invest in their specific tools. Think about how expensive it would be to invest in all the tools. You have your countertops, which are very different than your plumbing, which is very different than flooring. Right? They're different materials, different tools that you use, but you usually have one quarterback that is going to drive it all, that they know what they're doing. They have the contacts, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So I want to pull it back to our world, and I can use this for brokers out there, or I'll use it even as I trained a team for many years. I worked with many AFLAC agents, and I'll use that specifically. So coming in as they're learning the business, they'd get all excited about all these opportunities out there. But have you ever heard of drowning in opportunities? Because now AFLAC is voluntary, but the moment they start getting to health, or even deeper into self-funded health or Medicare or all these other programs, all of a sudden they had to know a lot more instead of just being focused. And admittedly, unfortunately, it's very hard, like Heather said earlier, to know everything and to do it well. They could do it. It's nice because they control it, you know, especially as the brokers today. They might be able to do health and Medicare, fully insured, self-insured, large group, small group, national, small accounts. You start throwing all this in there, FSAs. Now all of a sudden it's hard to remember everything with one person. And how well are we really doing that? Again, the advantage is you have quality control because you're doing it all. You have control, but how well are we really doing it when we try to do everything? How much better could we be if we either A, hired an in-house team to do it, or going back to the contractors, we'd hire in-house flooring, in-house countertops, but how expensive is that? Or B, what most of us do is we partner with those around us to create solid teams, which also drives business for everybody. We focus on our center of genius. Ooh.
Well, and I see that happening even like literally yesterday. I had a conversation with a broker who generally focuses on more on the individuals, the Medicare, and has some small groups. And while he wants long-term for that to be the end goal, he realizes that his niche right now is focused there and it's doing well for him. And he even said, you know, if one of my clients referred in a 50, 100 life group right now, I would actually refer that out to someone because I don't have the capacity to take that on. And I thought that that was wonderful, you know, because to your point, we can drown an opportunity, and he could have been like, oh, I'll take that on and I'll make it work. And maybe he could, and maybe someone argue that's the step to getting him where he wants to go. So there's a lot of different ways of looking at that. And he would probably partner with someone that has those tools and resources and capabilities. But I thought it was wonderful that, you know, we had this conversation knowing we were coming into this today. And I just thought that was a real life example of someone kind of staying in their lane, right? There's a lot to know about individual and Medicare, especially right now. And we can just drown in all of this if we're not careful in what we specialize in.
Yeah, I fully agree. Right. They say the jack of all trades or master of none. And although I think we can be the jack of all trades, we have the capability to do that today. But how much better could we do it if we focus? We had to learn that as a company, right? Some hard lessons because we were asked for this and that. And can we do this? And oh yeah, we can help. And can we really help this client, which isn't our target market? And can we do? So it's sometimes really hard to say no. But in the end, everybody wins if we really focus on what we're good at. At least that's my personal opinion. And going into technology today, right, we see technology that's really amplifying all of this. If we're going to compete, all of us are going to compete against certain technology. It's coming together to provide that human touch that we're specialized in these areas, no matter what it is. At least these are my thoughts.
Right.
So.
And I would agree. And I mean, if we're going off the cliches and we're throwing them out there, the other one would be there's riches and niches, right?
Yes.
And, our great friend, I know Joe B says that quite often. That's where I take that from. I know he was not the original to say that, but there is, validity in that. And I think as a company, we obviously believe that, or we would not be, have wagered essentially our entire life and finances and all of that for the bigger picture of what we believe. And that is that this is a niche and a specialization that we can bring a lot of value into the situation on. And I feel, so it's interesting because two ways I could go with this. So let's go with, there's a reason why we call it the era of specialization, right? You've heard us say that quite often. I think that's very intentional because the climate in our society and in the business world is much different than it was 10 years ago, right? This is the era that we have all sorts of information at our fingertips and more of the consumer doing their due diligence and homework more than ever, right? So you can be, back to what we were saying, you could be overwhelmed with all this information. You could spend so much time over here and not even become a specialist because there's so much to know. And so that's really, to me, the climate and the business environment has driven this even more. And we're seeing it again, as we're speaking to, in really any genre, any parallel that you want to give it to, whether we're talking about insurance or we're talking about construction. But it's the era, I feel like. It's time.
Yeah, and maybe it's been for a while, but again, it's amplified because consumers have the power to do their research, right? It goes back to, well, who watches Shark Tank, right? I love Shark Tank. And Shark Tank talks a lot about focusing and those focused efforts, because those that focus, they specialize, and we seek out specialty. We speak out those that specialize in it in an area today. It's interesting, again, going back into our spaces. I remember talking to some of our broker partners. They said, well, we don't want to work with you because the client, they want us to know everything. And that's true. Clients, customers expect us to know everything, but they also value specialists now. And especially if it's done right, I think it goes over very well. So they want us to know everything. We don't have to know everything. We just need to know where to get it, who to partner with, who to trust, no matter what arena that is. Well, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd even go as far as to say it's not that they want that, but it's actually almost that's expected nowadays.
Ooh. Yeah, very true.
I mean, going back to my general contractor, like I expect him to know his stuff. Like I expect him to give me the best. Right. And that's why I said I wasn't mad that he went out and got a specialist for my flooring or my plumbing, because that's what I expect from him, to bring the best back to me. And kind of touching on that point with some of, some pushback or objections that we've heard in the past, like, well, I want to be in control. I want to know everything, right? My client expects me to know everything. No, your client does not expect you to know everything, but they do expect you to know that whether this may or may not be a good fit for your company, and bring it to the table as an option. And that they do expect that. And so, there is that expectation there and that high level. And unfortunately, if someone's not bringing it, someone else will. And, so, you can't look at it like, oh, because I brought in another team to support me in this niche means that I'm going to be looked at like I don't know what I'm talking about. I actually think it goes the other way, in my opinion, if it's presented the right way, right? Hey, this is our team that specializes in this, and they're going to bring the best in class to the table and make sure we're on the same page and giving you what you need. That's a different delivery than, oh, we're not that versed in these voluntary benefits, so work with that team over there who we happen to partner with. Right?
Well, and going back to your contractor example, it's not that the contractor said, here's your plumber, figure it out. They still handled all of that as an intermediary. So the broker should still be handling their specialty pieces as the intermediary, still have their thumb and their finger on the pulse, but not needing to be the specialist themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we're about out of time, but I think that's a great way to sum it up. Is we have lots of resources today to still look and feel like we have everything the client expects per header. But in order to do that, we need to trust others to partner with that are really the specialists in that space. And together we'll create longer, stronger clients. Again, that's with our industry or really any others, whether it's contracting or whatever it might be. So I want to leave you with one last little stat. I just thought this was interesting, something I read on Forbes. They said, now this is more about multitasking. They said multitasking leads to as much as 40% loss in productivity. So why do I add that? Because really, if we're focused on more than our center of genius, we're losing productivity somewhere. Yeah. So everybody have a fantastic week. Thank you all for your time. And we look forward to next month, the last Thursday of the month, every month. And feel free to reach out to any of us.
Love it. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.